Well, let's begin by clearing up LGBTQ plus civil rights. Biden vows to protect LGBTQ plus in presidential pride event.
We have to act as a nation. We need to push back against the hundreds of callous and cynical bills and laws introduced in states targeting transgender children, terrifying families, and criminalizing doctors and nurses. These bills and laws attack the most basic values and freedoms we have as Americans. You know, too many people in the LGBT community are worried and afraid about their future and their safety. So today, I want to send a message to the entire community, especially to transgender children. You are loved. You are heard. You are understood. And you belong. And as I made clear, including in my State of the Union address, your president, my entire administration, has your back.
Well, standing on a stage decorated with rainbows and speaking to a crowd that included survivors of gay nightclub shootings and transgender rights activists, President Joe Biden on Saturday said his administration would work to counter a recent series of Republican-led bills and laws targeting the LGBTQ plus community. The president said that his administration had taken steps to protect the civil rights of LGBTQ plus Americans, including appointing an official within the Department of Education who will monitor and address the growing number of local bans on books with references to lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer people. President Biden also assailed laws that have allowed business owners to discriminate against LGBTQ plus people on their religious or personal beliefs. Well, of course, you know, I historically am surprised every time we do a story like this. We've been doing Queer News Tonight since January of 2020. We had a different president at the time. That president, he who shall not be named, yesterday at the Miami Federal Courthouse, was the good old days for the GOP. I mean, it got worse after him. When you watch Joe Biden's intent and his words, there is not a shadow of a doubt. I thought for a long, long time in watching and being so proud of the Obama years that this was the greatest LGBT president we had ever seen until his vice president became president. Joe Biden has proved it. He's been an ally. He's put his actions where his mouth is, and in every possible way, he's done virtually everything that our community could ask for him. And I know our community continues to thank him for it.
Yeah. You know, the GOP has just lost their shiz over this event this past weekend. My God. Obviously some elected leaders, more so in the House and the Senate, have just come out and assailed him. Biden called for him to resign because this is an absolute affront to morality in America. So that, for me, just knowing that there is a Republican that might cry, makes me feel a little bit better about it.
It does, right?
But most importantly, like you said, Al, he is standing up for us in word and in deed. Look at the executive orders that he signed that basically turned back the Trump years with a signature, much of the damage. The only thing is, executive orders only hold up as long as that particular executive is the executive.
Ouch. You know, I love that he, said, transgender community, I am here for you. I love you. You are seen. You know, that right there. I mean, when it comes to, our trans family members, they see all these laws going against them daily. They see all the news targeting them and youth, So to see the president of the freaking United States say, you are seen and I'm behind you, that's huge. All right. But we always have to have a smudge. We always have to F up in some way, right? So there was a trans activist, her name is Rose Montoya, right? And she's done amazing things, but she also decided to go topless on Saturday at the event, all right? So now she is banned from the White House. And she's like, what do you mean? We couldn't go topless? Like, there are no words for me to say, like, what a smudge. Like, why would you do that and disrespect us? Did you guys hear about this as well?
I saw it.
And what did you think? She had nice breasts. What did you think?
I suppose they're nice. I'm not really a connoisseur. No, I think that she's making a statement about the inequality. I mean, if I can go topless on the White House lawn, though I probably shouldn't, even if the fact that I could, women should be allowed to as well. We make so much about this, about God, the size of them. So I understand the point she was making, but that was not necessarily the time.
That was not the time or place to do that.
To make the
I
point.
understand that protest, and I'm behind her 100%. But it was not the time or place for me.
Sure.
You know.
I don't think it matters. I mean, I don't care. But, you know, that obviously there's a lot of, I don't, you know, but as far as Biden speaking directly to the trans community, I remember in the inaugural speech that he mentioned or referenced, that was just mind-blowing. That I'd never heard or felt such support on such a big stage. Like, that transgender people had never been mentioned before in a positive way, or even just that it's warranted, that our existence and our struggle is warranted enough importance to be part of the speech. And I also remember that he mentioned, you know, Black Lives Matter and the racial equity. And I mean, I'm just not the most educated on how the intricacies of our government works. It's something I need to continue to learn. But I'm like, okay, so federal government trumps the states, right? Can we just fix Florida from the...
Wouldn't that be easy?
Sell it back to Spain.
You know, one last thing to say that I think is interesting about the event. This last week, the celebration hits Hotspots magazine, happening out television very closely because our own Jasmine Rogers got an invitation to go to the White House, and she went, and it was really, I think, an excellent moment because I could watch her. Last Wednesday we talked about it. She was leaving the next day, on Thursday, to do it, and to have a young Black woman to be invited out of South Florida. It's such a positive reflection that the White House is paying attention to young LGBT leaders like Jasmine Rogers. And I think that that is so fantastic, not only for Jasmine to be able to have that experience, to go to the White House and experience that and celebrate June Pride at the White House, but also that the White House and the President of the United States is paying attention to our local communities of who is really excelling. And when they see new young leaders, I'm sure, Mateo, you're going to fall into this classification, that the White House says, we would like to invite you to come. And that's what happened this week. Jasmine Rogers went to Washington for this event at the White House and represented our entire community in South Florida. She had the entire LGBTQ community on her shoulders, and good for her to do it.
No better representative.
No better.
One of our Aqua Scholars went too, Steph Frosch.
Excellent.
Yeah,
oh, nice.
Super excited to see this.
We are Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only live daily LGBTQ+ evening news show from Happening Out Television Network. In the model of PBS and NPR, we educate, inform, and entertain by supporting the 10 pillars of the LGBTQ+ community, with more than 100,000 a week watching on Roku, Apple Television, and other channels. To keep the stories going, we accept donations with 100% transparency. Stay updated and live authentically with Queer News Tonight.